Hello students, this is the last play in your course, Sacrifice, which is written by R. N. Tagore. Visarjan. Visarjan is the original name in Bengali of this play. Visarjan, there are the two meanings of this word. First is the immersion of the image of God into the water, and second is sacrifice. Tagore took the word as the sacrifice in this play. Sacrifice. The meaning of the word is to killing an animal or a man at to praise or to make praise to the God, to please the God. It is the real meaning of the sacrifice. In olden days, the priests and the kings and queens and the people kill the goats, kill the camel and many other animals to please the gods. And in some place, some people kill a man or a woman to please the god. This is the way to in olden civilizations or in olden time. The play Sacrifice is a play about the sacrification of a goat which belonged to a child, a girl child. R. N. Tagore, as I have told in the last class, is a very famous poet, playwright, painter, composer, singer, versatile personality who has belonged to the Bengal and a Bengali family which was very established family, and he established a university also which name is Vishwa Bharati, Kolkata. Rabindranath Tagore, who has wrote many plays, and this is the one of the most famous plays, Sacrifice, Post Office, Dark Chamber, etc. Gitanjali is the masterpiece of Tagore. His life is divided into three terms: Gitanjali period, and post Gitanjali period. Gitanjali is written in 1911 in Bengali language and then translated by himself in 1912. And in 1913, he got the Nobel Prize for Literature. He was the first Asian personality who got this prize for literature. And as you know that Nobel Prize was started in 1901, and the 13th Nobel laureate, the Tagore. This is the poster of his play Sacrifice in Bengali language, Sacrifice by Rabindranath Tagore. You can see the goat and the girl. Tagore. Rabindranath Tagore was a Bengali author, poet, and playwright. He was the first non-European to win the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913. As I have told you, that he was the first Asian personality who has won the Nobel Prize for Literature. Both are not the similar things because non-European. He was the first non-European. Only the Europeans who have won the 12 Nobel Prize for Literature. He is the first non-European personality who won the Nobel Prize for Literature, and he is known as the first Asian also. Although he wrote novels and plays, he was best known for his poetry, and his poems are collected in Gitanjali. This is a very beautiful book about the poetry and the singing quality. With the singing quality, W.B. Yeats also praised the poetry of Rabindranath Tagore. Also, he was too much inspired by the Tagore. T.S. Eliot also inspired by the singing or by the songs of the Gitanjali. Rabindranath Tagore, who is known as the Gurudev. Gurudev is the title which was given by Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi, who is known as the father of India and who is the most patriotic personality in the world in India. And Rabindranath Tagore was also a patriotic person, and his song Jana Gana Man is now the national anthem of India. And his another song, Amar Sonar Bangla, is the national anthem of Bangladesh. As we know that Bengal is divided into two parts, East Bengal and the West Bengal. East Bengal is converted in Bangladesh in 1971, and West Bengal is a part of Indian religion, Indian reign. Tagore is one of the great dramatists of Indian origin. We know it because he wrote mostly in Bengali language, then translated into English, and he is one of the greatest dramatists. He is marked by his characteristic lyrical quality, which is also found in his plays, giving him a dynastic stature. structure. With the increasing significance of Western civilization on Indian culture at a large scale, he takes a firm step towards restoring Indian values in his own ways. He presents the Indian values, the Indian culture, the Indian backgrounds in his own values, and he presents the real structure of the Indian society. In the play Chandalika, he presents about a girl and his mother who is fell to a Buddhist monk and then captured him. At last, he was he got himself free from all the enchantings. Sacrifice. This is the most one of the most famous plays of Rabindranath Tagore, and there are the characters in this play: Gunvati, Govinda, the king, and Gunvati is the wife of the king, and the Raghupati. It's not we, it's R. Raghupati, the priest, then Jaising, Nakshatra, and ministers, and one more, Aparna. These are the characters in this play, and we know that Gunvati, when the play starts, we know that Gunvati is praying to the god to, to take a child. He wants a child. Govinda also want a child, but Gunvati managed a goat to sacrifice to, due to the child. But as soon as the Govinda, the king knows, he denied to give the sacrifice of a goat which belonged to a child, because he hears about the sacrifice and he don't want to kill anyone to take a child. And the Raghupati, the priest, is very orthodox creature. He has many thoughts about the sacrifice, and he show the scriptures, the mythological scriptures and Vedas and the Shastras to justify his sentence to give the sacrifice of the goat or sacrifice of the man. Raghupati, Govinda, who was the king of that area, want to kill himself at the place of the goat. Raghupati became very angry to the behavior of the king, and he want to kill the king himself and want to make Nakshatra, who was the brother of Govinda, the king. At last, Jai Singh gives his life to save the life of king, and this shows the sacrifice of a person to save the life of another person. The message of this play is that life comes from life, not from the sacrifice. Sacrifice takes up theme as old as theater itself, because it is very old, very old theme of the plays. The context between religious and secular powers. There are the two powers always existed in the society. First is the secular power and then the religious power. And in olden time, the religious power is more powerful than the secular power. As in the story of Antigone, most famously dramatized by Sophocles, a king has declared a new law preventing the observation of the sacred rite. Antigone is not allowed to bury her brothers. The Maharaja of Tripura, Govinda, moved by pity for a peasant girl whose goat was snatched by the priest to give the sacrifice, bans the ritual sacrifice of animals to the goddess Kali. What follows in each case is rebellion. This is the opening of the story. The Maharaja of Tripura, Govinda, moved by and very much touched by the story of the peasant girl who loved his goat too much, and this goat was taken by the priest and the other persons to give the sacrifice to please the goddess Kali. So the goddess Kali would give a child to the queen. The girl the Maharaja bans the ritual sacrifice of animals to the goddess Kali. He said that no god need a sacrifice. But Raghupati shows him the scriptures and then want to kill the king, because king is in the way of his occupation. What follows in each case is rebellion. There is a rebellion in this. In Tagore's play, the high priest Raghupati denounced Govind's decision and conspired with his Brahmins and other members of the court, including officers of the military, to engineer a coup, and he has On his side, Gunvati, the queen, who believes the sacrifice will give her the child she has long awaited. Now the king Raghupati became only alone because his wife is also against him. His wife wants a child, and for it she should give a sacrifice. She is ready to give a sacrifice, but the king banned the sacrification at the place of the at the temple of the Kali. This is a very dramatic situation when the Raghupati want to kill the king, and he took, and for it he pursues to the member of the court, including officer of the military, an engineer, and a cop, and he has hit side Gunvati. He made all the arrangements to kill the king. That which has the sanction of ages, do you have the right to remove it? Asked the king's general. Govind's response, it is not the Brahmin's right to violate the eternal good. It is within the rights of the king and the peasants alike to maintain truth and righteousness. When he was asked about the bane of sacrification, the king said that it is not only the rights of a Brahmin to manage his kingdom. He is the king, and he know how to manage the kingdom, and he know how who should be killed or who should not be killed. So this is there is a conflict between the king and the priest. This scene shows the conflict. Torn between these sides is Jai the priest's son, who befriends of the poor girl and strives to understand the capricious nature of the goddess he worships. This is a dramatic change in the story. Jai who was the son of the priest, is a friend of that girl whose goat was captured by the priest to give as the sacrifice. And here the architecture of Sophocles' story is inverted, where Antigone's heroism is in the following the fundamental law of the gods in defiance of father and the state. Tagore's drama favors the mercy of the king and explicitly attacks of the cruelty and the superstition of the old religions. This is the completely story moves around the superstitions. All persons and the kings and the queens and all the priests are believed that the sacrifice is the highest point to praise or to please the god or the goddess. In Indian scriptures and olden Greece scriptures and all around the world, there are the sacrifice got a very special attention. In the Egyptians, in the Spanish culture, most of took the side of sacrifice to please the god. They thought that after killing a person or an animal, they got the blessings, they got the blessings of the god or goddess. Jai turned against his father and embraces mankind. Jai who was son of the priest Raghupati and now embraces mankind, and the goddess Kali is repeatedly referred to as a block of stone and a burden, and he gives his life at the place of the god. The highly symbolic ending is suggestive of Tagore's view of the divine in relationship between beings. You are my goddess, Jai says to the beggar girl. He said that I love to the beggar girl who is the goddess of myself, and I sacrifice my body toward the beggar girl. Near the climax of the play, do you know how I know it? You bring to me your sacrifice every moment as a mother does to her child. She made all the arrangements for the boy, and this refrain is picked up by his father in the devastating final lines of the play, and Raghupati was very much despair in the last, and he said, there is nothing in his life behind this son, and this son sacrificed his life for a girl. Tagore is one of the greatest dramatists of Indian origins. He is marked by his characters, lyrics, and qualities, which is also found in the play, given him distinct structure. With the increasing significance of Western civilization on the Indian culture at a large, he takes a firm step toward restoring Indian values in his own ways. Tagore is one of the greatest dramatists. As we know, that Tagore is the leading character, the leading dramatist or playwright or dramatist in the Indian mythology, Indian backgrounds, Indian literature. He is the marked by his characters' lyrical quality. There are the lyrical qualities in his characters. As we know in his Gitanjali, the most lyrical poetry book in India, which is also found in the plays, giving him a distinct stature within the increasing of significance of Western civilization on Indian culture at a large. He takes a firm step toward restoring Indian values in his own ways. As we know, this is a simple story about sacrifice of an animal, a girl who has the only goat, and this goat was snatched by the priest of that place and who want to kill that animal to please the goddess Kali. But the girl goes to the king and prays for the mercy, and then then the king banned the sacrification at the place of the Kali. Then the priest became very angry and he conspired or he plotted the murder of the king. Then there is a dramatic change in the story, and the son of the priest Jai Singh want to sacrifice his life for the sake of the girl's goat, and he lost his life. He sacrificed his life to save the life of the goat of the girl, the beggar girl. Now the priest became very emotional, and now he realized that the sacrifice is not really have no use in this world. The king want to tell them this. His plays like Chitra, Rabindranath Tagore's play like Chitra, Karuna and Kanti, Karan and Kunti and Gandharis have all are based on myths. In this play Sacrifice, Tagore has explored the concept of reality enveloped in myth. Most of his plays are based on the myth as Chitra, Karan and Kunti, Gandhari. All these plays are based on the mythology and the myths of Mahabharata. But this play, Sacrifice, has the real background all around the world. There are the sacrification of all around the world because there is only one thing which is very important, and it is to not to kill an animal, not to kill a man for the sake of the life, because life gives life, not death, not the sacrification. Rabindranath Tagore, who was an Indian poet or Indian playwright, he believes that the literature is the most great source to awake the society, and he used his plays to awake the society. He wrote many songs as Jana Gana Man to awake the Indian blood, the Indian persons. And now this song is known as the national anthem of India. India who got the freedom in 1947. Rabindranath Tagore, who was born in 1961, died in 1941. He was the great dramatist, great playwright, and a singer, and a composer, and a lyricist. All the qualities are in one person, rarely found, but Rabindranath Tagore is a versatile personality, and he attached himself to the literature, he attached himself to the education, and he is the most established educationist in India. He established a school which became later a university, Vishwa Bharati. In its starting, it was known as the Shanti Niketan, Bharat Bharati. Now it is known as the Vishwa Bharati University, Kolkata. Rabindranath Tagore, who was a great figure in Indian literature, in Bengali literature, and in English literature also, because his book Gitanjali won the Nobel Prize for the first Asian personality who won the Nobel Prize, or we can say that he is the first personality of non-European personality who won the Nobel Prize for literature. Raghupati, the priest, symbolizes the myth in Tagore's Sacrifice. He symbolizes the myth. He is in a strong support of the merciless killing of innocent creatures. He is unwillingly to alter his faith in the age-old customs and the traditions. He even stakes the life of the king for the sake of continuance of the myth of sacrifice. So we can say that Tagore is strongly in the support of merciless killing of innocent creatures. He wants to stop the killing, he wants to stop the sacrifice. Sacrifice in this story, the sacrification of a goat, a beggar's girl's goat, and Jessing, who loved that girl, saved the goat and saved the girl also. Raghupati, who wanted to kill the king for that sacrifice, also became merciful at last because he know that this sacrification has no use in this world. Because life gives life, not the death. In the play Sacrifice by Tagore, King Govinda and Jai Singh are the preservers of goodness in the human heart. These are the two characters who develops the goodness when we read this novel. In the same way, Amravati in the play, Bali by Karnad symbolizes virtue and goodness, sees against sacrifice and want to abolish this brutal practice at any cost. As we know, the Bali is play written by Karnad, and Amravati is a character in that who also against the sacrifice and want to abolish the brutal practice at any cost. And in this play, the Govinda, the king, want, and the king is against the sacrifice and want to abolish this brutal practice at any cost because he wants that no one should be killed for the life of another one. It may be, it should be, although it can be king. The king has no right to take the life of any person or any animal because he is only a person, not the god. So Tagore want to summarize, Tagore want to give a message to the mankind that sacrifice is not the solution of any problem. Sacrifice is only the step of some selfish persons who want to enjoy the meat of the goat, who want to enjoy the meat of the camel. They took the side of the sacrifice. They want to enjoy the meat. So this is the message which was given by the Tagore, that no one should be killed for the life of another. In this play, the queen want a child, and she was suggested by the priest that if she gave a sacrifice of a goat, he will get a child. He will be blessed with a child by the god or the goddess Kali. She accepted the proposal and she managed the sacrifice. But when the king know about it, he rebelled and he bans the sacrifice in his kingdom. As we have read about the two different plays of Tagore, first is the post office and second the sacrifice. Post office is about or is against the bookish knowledge. The post office took the side of the practical knowledge. The Amal, who is an illiterate boy, don't want to read anything, don't want to learn anything because he know that the bookish knowledge is have no use because his innocence taught him whatever he wants. He want to know about the cardman. His innocence taught him. He stopped to the cardman and then asked him what is the work of the cardman and what are the villages, what are the women doing in his villages, where would he come from. All these are the questions which are asked from the Amal. Amal want to know. Amal want to learn by the practical or by the curiosity, by his questions, all are these. But in this play, sacrifice is a play which shows us the sacrifice situations in the society. Many persons have the dead habits and the superstitions in the society. They kill the animals to give the life to other persons or to please the goddess Kali. Goddess Kali is the most famous for the sacrifice because many people have the superstitions that God Kali was pleased with the sacrifice of an animal as camel, goat and many other animals. In some places of the world as in Spain, Egypt and in Maya civilization, they killed a man to please the god and goddess. So this is a simple theme of this story and Tagore took it as a universal universal theme and made and developed it as a play. In the end, both Jessing and Amravati has to sacrifice their lives to break the myth enveloped in the reality. This is the tragic end of this play. Jessing, who loves to the beggar girl and who want to save the life of the goat and the girl Amravati have to sacrifice her life also. She want to save the life of Jessing and his goat. Both are the characters and they sacrifice their life to break the myth, break the bad habits and the superstitions of the society and envelop in the reality. So the Tagore want to show that superstition have no establishment in this world. Govinda, who was the king of that place, that palace, also want to stop the bad practices and he banned the sacrifice in the temple of Kali. But the priest Raghupati don't want to stop the practice, so he goes against the king and want to kill the king. And he pursues his brother for this black deed. They, they could not become the successful, but the Jessing and Amravati managed or gave him a great message of life. They taught him that life gives life, not the death or not the sacrifice. Sacrifice, the play by Tagore, has explored the concept of reality enveloped in myth. His play Sacrifice, which is the real name is Visarjan, introduced a tragic character, Raghupati, the priest who is pitted against the king in a bitter conflict. The issue between them, which is the theme of the play, is the ritual sacrifice of animal before the goddess Kali. This is the center theme of the play. Sacrifice, who has the two meanings in the Bengali, Visarjan. Visarjan is the Visarjan of the statue of the god or goddess, and second Visarjan means the sacrifice. The issue between them, between the Raghupati and the king, which is the theme of the play, is the ritual sacrifice of animals before the goddess Kali. The king want to stop the bad practices, but the priest want to continue to these bad practices. And the son of Raghupati, Jessing, gives great message to his father that life gives life, not the sacrifice. And Raghupati and the girl both sacrifice their life to give a great message to the society. The king had an epiphany and the evict sacrifice of innocent creatures. They leads Raghupati to protest as he has faith in age-old custom and the practices. Raghupati was very firm and consistent in his belief, but the king is adamant. Fendis in his fury, Raghupati urges his disciple Jessing, and who has been brought up from childhood and whom he has loved dearly, to kill the king to appear the goddess. And we know that this is the climax. The climax is reached when the Jessing immolates himself as an offering to the bloodthirsty goddess. Raghupati is utterly disillusioned, the comes of reality, and the myth is ultimately broken by the Jessing and the girl. The truth is unveiled and the realizes that the insignificance of the brutal sacrifice and the unjust portrayal of idol worship. The king Govinda and Jessing in the play Sacrifice by Tagore are the preserver of truth and goodness. King Govinda, thought relevant in the beginning of the Defi age, old customs finally takes a stand to abolish sacrifice and gives order to stop merciless killing of innocent creatures. Jessing faces a dilemma when he is forced to choose between the wise king and the stubborn Raghupati. He honestly wants to obey the king, but at the same time he cannot go against Raghupati, who has raised him from the childhood, who is the father. But in the end of he chooses to the path of virtue, and instead of killing king for the sacrifice, he himself sacrificed his life. Amravati in Bali, this is the character in Bali, the Karnad's play, is rational and moral in her conduct. She is the preacher of peace and humanity. She stands strong and dignified in front of all the advertised. Instead of the forces against her, she never divides from her path. Ultimately, she sacrifices herself. This is about the Karnad's play Bali and becomes the true symbol of sacrifice in this marital world. Both Jessing and Amravati break the myth and bring into light the hidden. Thanks. This is the short summarization of the play. Enough for today. Thanks.